Hi everyone, my name is Shauna in case you don't know, and welcome back to another video. So the show that I'll be talking about in today's video is The White Lotus. This is an insane show that I just recently finished watching on HBO Max, and I have some very strong thoughts about the characters. I have some things I want to say, but before I get any farther in this video, I do need to say that this show is a 18+ show. It is not for minors, so I will be talking about some adult content in this video, which means that if you are a minor, I highly recommend clicking away. However, I won't be restricting this video to only 18+ because I'm sure that some minors have seen this show. Also, I will be doing a spoiler-free section and then a spoiler section. The spoiler-free section will be my general thoughts about the show, and then the spoiler section will be more specified to each character because there are so many different characters and their stories don't fully overlap that I want to sort of like go through each character, my thoughts, discuss them, that sort of thing. So to start off with, The White Lotus is a show about a bunch of rich people who go to this hotel called the White Lotus. It is a drama exposing what rich people do and the drama that ensues, the privilege that they have. It's set in Hawaii, so there is tons of great scenery, tons of great cinematography. You get to see under the water, you get to see above the water, you get to see great shots of just everything at this beautiful location. Stars a ton of popular actors and actresses. The actors and actresses that made me want to watch this show, because this is not my usual type of show, was Alexandra Daddario, who's been in tons of stuff like San Andreas and Percy Jackson, and I also watched it for Greg Heffley's dad from Diary of a Wimpy Kid, the original movies. He was in this. So trigger warnings and content warnings for the show include puking, nudity, and nudity being boobs and a penis, like full on everything. There is lots of sex and lots of cussing, and there is drug use, both recreational and drug addiction. So those are really the main trigger warnings and content warnings. So the acting in the show was incredible. You weren't supposed to like every character, and I think the actors really took their roles and performed them beautifully. I can definitely see how this show will get awards, both for the beautiful cinematography, for the soundtrack too, which was very nice and it really complemented the show, and I feel like the actors and actresses could all win awards for this show. This is only a 6-episode long show, so it's not very long. I watched this over the span of a few weeks because my laptop started having issues and I wasn't able to stream shows on my laptop for a little while, but you can easily binge this show in just a couple days. That being said, even though I think this will be an award-winning show, and even though I thought there was elements of it that I really enjoyed, I felt that all of the characters was so flawed that it was nearly impossible to redeem any of them, and the show angered me and made me uncomfortable, which was partly the point. Like, you weren't supposed to be comfortable with the actions they were doing. It was hard to watch it in this world's climate because there are so many rich white people who are privileged, who we see on television and in politics all the time, and it's hard because those people we see a ton of and we dislike them and we find issues with them, and this show was just highlighting them further. And obviously this was all fictional, but like elements of it felt like it was like pulled out of these rich privileged people that we see on television and on the news all the time. So it was hard and unsettling because the show was showing us these rich privileged people getting away with a ton of stuff. However, we also see that in the news. Like, it's timely and it's unfortunate and it's a little unsettling to see even further all of these rich people like getting away with crap. So that is really all for my non-spoiler thoughts. I would recommend the show if you're someone who really appreciates the acting, cinematography, and all of the elements that come together to make a beautiful show. However, this show made me very uncomfortable. If seeing rich privileged people in the news is not something that is easy for you, then maybe skip this show, because that is essentially what this show is. Rich privileged people doing stuff, and it's messy, it's dramatic. I wouldn't recommend this show to everyone, and I would say that if there wasn't actors and actresses that I already liked in the show, I definitely wouldn't have started this show in the first place. So now on to the spoiler section, where I'll be breaking down all of the main characters in the show. Before I break down the main characters, I want to say it was weird that they had the worker at the hotel have a baby in the first episode, and then after the second episode, like, they just completely ignored that storyline. Like, it just disappeared. I was like, what you doing there? Anyways, now onto the characters. I have a list of all the main characters and I have recorded my thoughts on them. I sort of had to sit there for a while and sift through my thoughts on these characters because this show is one that there was a lot to unpack here. It's not as easy as just like, oh, I like this character, I don't like this character. It's like, they're all flawed and there's reasons why I might like elements of them, and there's reasons why I completely hate pretty much all of them. First up is Armand, the guy who's like in charge of the hotel. He's the manager of the hotel. So I really did not like Armand. He was selfish and rude, and I wasn't sad at all for his death, partly because he's selfish and rude, and also because I was really uncomfortable how he was sort of like using sexual coercion on his worker. Sexual coercion is when you make someone do something sexual in order to get like some sort of reward out of it. So like it's sort of like forcing someone to do something sexual that they don't want to do, but people can get away with it more, I guess, because they're giving someone something. And so the guy that he was forcing to do sexual coercion was basically, Armand said, like, oh, you can choose your shift, that type of stuff. So he was taking advantage of his workers, and it was really disgusting me. And also the fact that that's the only gay rep really that we get in the show, I was like, that makes me so uncomfortable. Why do you give us gay rep but make it really terrible rep? I hope in season 2 there is some actual good gay rep in the show, because something about this like didn't sit right with me. Like, sexual coercion is wrong and it's gross it is in the show, but it's even grosser that the only gay rep in the show was sexual coercion. You see what I mean? Next up is Kai. So I wish there would have been an additional scene of Olivia like paying his bail to get him out of jail, and that would have redeemed Olivia more. I feel like Kai is the one with the best intentions at his heart, and he was manipulated by Paula. I feel like he was set up into a situation where it was a no-win situation, and I felt so bad for him, and I was so angry that none of the characters did anything to help him, especially Olivia and Paula. They just sort of was like, oh, it's sad, it is what it is, there's now friendship problems between us, and then they just left it at that and didn't do anything to help Kai. It made me so mad. Next up is Olivia, one of my least favorite characters. So I hated how she believed that she deserved everything and anything in the world, and how she sort of manipulates Paula in order to get everything that she wants in the world. It was really frustrating to me. She is like the definition of the worst friend in the world. And also I hoped not only that she would have redeemed herself with Kai, but I also hoped that she would have like redeemed herself with Paula and like had an honest heart-to-heart conversation with Paula and like forgave Paula more. But nope, none of these characters redeemed themselves, and she was the one that I felt had the most potential to redeem herself, but she just did not. It made me so angry. Next up is Shane. Another one of my least favorite characters. I pretty much don't like any of these characters. Shane had extreme toxic masculinity. Like, it was so bad, and he literally just wanted his wife to be a trophy wife, and it was really gross and frustrating, and I did not like it. And he is the guy who, when you think of stereotypical rich white male, like, that's him. So I did not like him. I think that the actor did an incredible job, and the actor is going to be in another show soon. Forget what show, but I saw on Twitter that he's going to be in another show. So I might be checking out his other works because I think he's a great actor, but this character in this show was really awful. But it was written to be awful. It's not like he was a terrible actor. The character was just written to be awful. Next up is Tanya. She was extremely mentally unstable, and I don't mean that in a way to like say bad things about people who are mentally unstable, because I sorta am mentally unstable. I have mental health issues. I say this in the sense that she had problems she needed to work through, but she did not work through them, and it impacted her relationships with other people. I hated how she thought the world revolved around her, and I thought that it was weird that she had her mom's ashes on there, and that she was like, I don't know, like, that it was just in a hotel room, that she like thrusted on that guy that she was hooking up with. Like, it was weird, so weird, and a lot of the scenes that she was in were extremely awkward, and I feel like she has attachment issues. She was also just really annoying in general, and I wish that she wouldn't have promised anything for Belinda, because I feel like that really messed with Belinda's head. Also, I recognize Tanya's actor. I think she was a evil stepmother in a Cinderella movie. Pretty sure. I think so. I think I looked this up too when I was watching the first episode. Next up is Quinn. Quinn is my favorite character in this series, but he is not perfect, okay? So I hated how they showed him masturbating and watching porn, especially because he seemed to be the only character who was not neurotypical in the show. It seemed like he had autism. So I was like really frustrated by that scene, and I was like, why did that scene have to be included? It didn't do anything for his story arc. Also, I think the character is supposed to be 16. He did not look 16. I think the actor did an incredible job, but it's hard because we need to have autistic actors playing autistic characters, but his character was never explicitly said to be autistic, so like, I'm a little iffy about that. I am a little confused about how his life will unfold just after season 1. Like, I feel like season 2 will have all new characters, like all different actors and everything, but he's a minor and he ran away from his parents to go join this group that is doing the rowing. So I'm a little confused, like, is he gonna briefly be shown in season 2? Like, are we gonna figure out how he got back to his parents? Or are his parents just gonna like leave him there and forget about him? Like, I'm sort of confused about that. But I did think that Quinn was like wholesome and cute for most of the show. I think that he had some really fun scenes and some funny scenes too. He was one of the characters that actually like made me smile and feel like genuine joy and not full on disgust when I was watching this show. Next up is Dillon, who is actually the guy from Love, Victor. He was, can I remember the characters' names right now? He was, I'm forgetting every character's name in the show right now. So Benji is Victor's boyfriend in Love, Victor, but in season 1, before Victor came out, this actor was dating Benji in the show. So I recognize this actor. I had to look it up because I was like, he looks so familiar, but I couldn't quite place it. So there wasn't enough info on him for me to gather like a strong feeling on him, but he is the one that was sort of being taken advantage of by Armand, so I felt really bad for him. He definitely like wasn't the greatest character in the world, but he definitely didn't deserve what Armand did to him. Next up is Belinda. So Belinda seemed really nice. And at first I was like, okay, she can get her dreams come true through Tanya. But then I was like, at what point though is she just trying to have Tanya just nicely give her things? And at what point does she start like taking advantage of Tanya's mental instability? It was hard because I could see both sides of this picture. I did like Belinda more than Tanya and more than most of the other characters. However, I got really frustrated in the final episode with what she did to Rachel. I feel like Belinda is one character that we will most likely see in season 2. So I hope something good happens with her character in season 2. Next up is Kitty, who is Shane's mother. So Kitty was hard for me because she reminded me of someone that I know. Not gonna name names, not gonna even hint who this is. So she was rude, but her presence was necessary for Rachel's character development. I feel like I didn't like her. It was really awkward to have her in the show because Shane and Rachel were on a honeymoon, and to just have the mother/mother-in-law. So Shane's mother and Rachel's mother-in-law, to have her show up on the honeymoon, it was weird. Really, really weird. But it was necessary for Rachel. Next up is Nicole. Now if we're looking at all of the characters as a whole, she's the one that radiates the most Trump supporter energy. Take that as you will. Not saying a political statement, just saying she seems like a Trump supporter. Could be good or bad, depending on what you think of Trump. She said several things that weren't okay, and she constantly reeked of privilege. Next up is Greg, who is the guy that Tanya was like hooking up with. So for Greg, he was very suspicious for the whole show, and I feel like season 2 is gonna like focus on new characters, so we aren't gonna get any resolution with this story, but I felt like he was cheating on his wife. Like, it seemed like he had a family. Like, it didn't seem like Tanya was the only person that he was hooking up with and in love with. So that was a little weird to me, especially when he was like on the phone at that one scene. Like, it seemed like he was talking to his wife, and then he saw Tanya and he was like, oh shoot, I need to hang up on my wife. So yeah, that was interesting. I really have suspicions about him. And the thing is, his health issues. So I have health issues. You don't have to disclose your health issues right away to everyone that you meet. However, Tanya was very clearly having mental health issues, and I feel like he should have disclosed his health issues as soon as he saw that about Tanya, because Tanya might not have been able to handle him passing away from health issues. If that makes any sense. Like, he should have disclosed that sooner once he realized that Tanya had mental health issues. Next up is Rachel, played by Alexandra Daddario. This is the main actress that is the reason why I wanted to watch this show, because I love Alexandra Daddario. And apparently this is a year of Alexandra Daddario and Daniel Radcliffe for me, because I've been watching tons of movies of both of those two celebrities. So Rachel seemed to have such a great story arc on the surface. At first, she seems to be the only character who could like redeem herself and get out of this like privileged like world that everyone was in. However, she threw that all out the door at the end of the final episode, and I was so frustrated. I think it was the trauma of Shane killing Armand that caused her to go back to Shane, but she seemed to be the only character that was about to redeem herself. But then just all tossed it away like that with a snap. and I was very frustrated about that, especially because she is someone who wanted clear and open communication to work through issues with Shane, and he was clearly not willing to work through any issues with her. So I was very frustrated and angry that Rachel's story arc was ruined in the final episode. Next up is Mark, who is Greg Heffley's dad from Diary of a Wimpy Kid. And you also get to see Greg Heffley's dad's penis. Childhood ruined. So he was nothing beyond someone who was just worshipping Nicole. Like, there wasn't much more to his character. He definitely went through a massive identity crisis once he found out how his dad actually died. And when he was going through that identity crisis, he felt slightly homophobic. Like, he wasn't explicitly homophobic, I just got that vibes from him as he was going through an identity crisis. So yeah, he was interesting and not what I expected. And the final character that I'm going to be talking about is Paula. Paula was very different from these other characters at first. She had so much potential to be a redeemable character, to have a good story arc. However, it was all tossed away after that thing happened with Kai, and she was like manipulated and controlled by Olivia, it felt like, for most of the show. I mean, she wouldn't even be at the White Lotus if it wasn't for Olivia. I think that Paula's actress is possibly one of the ones that had the best performances on the show. Like, they all had great performances. It really felt like you were at this resort watching them instead of watching actors, which I always appreciate when you can get that sucked into a show because of an actor's and actress's performance. So I think this actress has a great potential to win some awards and to be in other award-winning works in the future. However, I was frustrated that she seemed to have good intent with Kai and then was sort of thrown out the door once Kai was arrested. So those were my rambling thoughts on all of the characters in The White Lotus. I mean, I'm sure there's some super minor side characters that I missed, but those are the ones that I had the strongest thoughts on, that I need to get my thoughts out there. So yeah, I would recommend this show if you're looking for works that could win awards, that have great complexity to the show, but I would not recommend it if anything in this video that I talked about makes you so disgusted and uncomfortable that you feel like you can't handle the show. Because it's definitely not for everyone. Like, when I described the plot of the show to some people, they definitely said like, oh, I'm not gonna watch this show, it does not sound like my type of show, which is okay. Like, shows are not meant for every single person in the world to watch and enjoy. So if you found this video entertaining, feel free to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to me if you haven't already. My next video will be uploaded tomorrow on Tuesday, and I hope all of you are having a great start to your week. Until next time, goodbye!